You are listening to the Delay and Pray podcast, episode number 125.
Welcome to the Delay and Pray podcast, where certified Catholic and weight loss coach Beth teaches you how to permanently lose weight through spiritual fasting. Get ready to gain faith and lose weight through a joyful transformation of both body and soul. Now, your host, Beth, the Catholic fasting coach.
Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I have a bonus segment for you today. I have my husband, Mike, here, and we are going to continue this conversation and celebration of love, faith, and beautiful journey of a 35-year marriage and turning 60 this year. We're going to be super real with you today as we dive deep into our story that is as much about life's unexpected falls as it is about the good times. All of this grounded on the profound grace of our Catholic faith. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to explore the early sparks that ignited our romance, and we're going to laugh a lot about that. The ups and downs that have strengthened our bond as a couple, and the blessings, the true blessings of children and our grandchildren. We will wind it all up with our shared spiritual journey through prayer and fasting this Lent that we've just really started to experience as a couple. All right, Mike, are you ready?
I am.
Okay, well, let's begin. So let's share with our listeners what makes reaching 35 years of marriage and turning 60 such a significant milestone in our lives. Let's just talk about that, how our Catholic faith has always influenced us, even when we didn't know it was, like in that very beginning.
Well, I think a lot of it stems from the fact that we were both raised in traditional Catholic families. We celebrated the same holidays, sacramental celebrations, and we were close to our extended families, so a lot of time with cousins, and the weekends were spent with the family and celebration with the family.
Yeah, and when we were first married, every weekend was either a baptism and a party afterwards, or a first communion and a party afterwards, or a graduation and a party afterwards, or a wedding somewhere in the country. I mean, my mom and dad have over 100 grandchildren, great-grandchildren, right now. But back in the day, I mean, there was still a lot, since you're from a family of 4 and I'm from a family of 8. So there was a lot going on, and it was very Catholic, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And when we started to have kids, I think that the activities that we had were planned around family, and they were planned around these holidays and the celebrations, the baptisms and the weddings, graduations. There was always something to do, and you were seeing those people regularly. The kids were getting close to their cousins, and everyone was married. And so you saw that example of this is how a family should be. And I think that we've tried to carry that forward in emulating what our parents and extended family had in terms of creating that example of what a marriage should be, how you treat each other, the importance of family, the importance of faith. And we're seeing that now with our kids and their families.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go way back. Let's go back to college when we both went to Purdue. We were both in engineering school. You were an industrial engineer, and I always call myself an imaginary engineer because you were the study bug and I wasn't so much, right? And that's okay because that happens a lot. But I studied a lot in high school. And when I got to college, it was a big party scene for me because it was unlike anything I'd ever seen in my life. And I got caught up in that. We met our junior year, I believe. And I have to tell everybody, though, we met face to face our junior year, but I actually met Mike way before in my freshman year when I took Physics 241 and he was in Physics 241. And we were allowed at the final exam what's called a cheat sheet. We could bring in one piece of paper, both sides covered in anything we wanted to help us get through the final exam. And somebody had said, I have an amazing cheat sheet. You would not even believe this piece of paper. It is going to just catapult you through this final exam with all the information on it. And it was yours. And I didn't know you then, but it was your cheat sheet. And tell us a little bit about that cheat sheet.
At the time, Physics 241 was considered one of the hardest classes in the early engineering phases at Purdue. And when I was going through the finals, it just so happened that all my other finals were earlier in the week. And so by Monday, Tuesday, I had wrapped them up. This physics final was actually held Saturday morning in the Armory.
Yeah, and we took them all at the same time. Like everybody took the physics final at the same time on Saturday morning. That's how it was back in the day because they only gave one test, correct?
Right. And so they had 4,000 kids all piled into the Armory to take the exam. Well, I was on the AB borderline and was determined to get an A in this class. And so I took to heart, I was going to make the superlative cheat sheet that would get me to be able to get an A in the class. So I have the ability to write very small. So I essentially outlined the entire book over the course of 3 or 4 days with examples and all the formulas, and even had a little index. And so on Friday, as I'm finishing up this cheat sheet, I'm in the union and just with some other people doing some final study. And they said, "Oh, this will be perfect. Can I use this? Can I use this?" I'm like, "Sure, I don't care." And so it went around and Xerox copies were made by the hundreds. I didn't know the extent to which things could get distributed around that quickly in that short a time. But by the time I sat down at 10 a.m. on Saturday in the Armory, I looked to the person to the left of me who I'd never seen before, and they had my cheat sheet. And I looked to the person to the right of me who I'd also never seen before, and they had my cheat sheet.
Everyone had the cheat sheet. But guess what? It helped you. You got an A in the course.
Yeah.
And it didn't help me, friends. I couldn't find a thing on there, and I couldn't find his index because he writes really, really small. He's a very meticulous, very small writer. He's definitely the engineer. But what's interesting is when you got your master's.
So fast forward about 5 years later, and I'm going through my master's at Purdue, and I'm studying, and it's finals week, and I'm back in the union, and there's a table of freshmen talking about heading into their physics 241 final, and
there it is.
They still had that same cheat sheet. So it lived on. So I didn't do a whole lot at Purdue, but I did have one part live on for quite a while.
The infamous physics 241 cheat sheet. Anyway, I passed the class, but let's just say I didn't get an A or a B. Whoops. But anyway, then I met you junior year. And I remember walking into, I believe it was IE 386.
Yeah.
And so I walk in and there you were. And you smelled so good. I could smell you a mile away because you always wore Polo cologne and a pretty good amount of it. And so I was like, okay, so there's this good looking guy. He's super smart. He knows what he's talking about because we're in a group project. And there's like 6 of us, I think. And so here we are. And so I just totally fall in love with you right there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with this guy. I'm just in love with him. And so it wasn't a couple months later but then I went on spring break. Mike stayed home to study. Imagine that. Yeah. I go to party. He stays home to study. And I write you a postcard and say, "Hey, Mike, just saying hi. This is Beth." And you were like, "Huh, that's interesting." And I tell the girls that I went down with that I'm going to marry this guy. This is the guy that I'm going to marry. And they said, "But you haven't even had a date with him." And I'm like, "Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I know it's going to happen." See, I had the thoughts. Your thoughts always create your results. So have the thought. So there was my thought. And we got married. Ta-da, we went out, we dated for a few years, and we got our jobs.
Took jobs in different places.
Different states.
You took one in Ohio, I took one in Colorado, and after 6 months, year being apart, that wasn't working out. So we got engaged and
got married. It was super fun.
Yep.
And our first date, we went to Mass, and we went to a movie.
Saw a blind date with Bruce Willis and Kim Basinger.
Yeah. It's so funny. That's so old. That dates us right there in the 80s. So that's how it started. And what do you love it?
I just find it funny that he's a straight-laced guy and he dates a crazy woman in the movie. So maybe a little telling.
Yes, there you go. That's our life. That's our life. Yeah. So that's how it went. And then the first years of our marriage were good, but we lived away from family. Our family was in Indiana and we were in Colorado. And we had some ups and downs when we started that. Because I was raised one way, he was raised another, and we had our things that we loved and liked, and we didn't have a huge influence of family out there. So we were trying to put this together, and we did fine, but those times weren't easy. Starting out wasn't easy. And we
No,
had,
I think our first couple years are arguably the hardest of our marriage. I think we were still a little selfish, both a little selfish. We didn't have kids to put our attention
we
towards.
didn't
And
have a
so
great faith either.
we did not have
No.
good faith
In
life.
fact, okay, so this is interesting. Remember when your mom and dad came out to visit us and we couldn't find the church? Like we had to look it up. This is like in the phone book, right? This is before. Do we even have cell phones? I can't remember when we had cell phones. I don't think we did. I don't think we had a cell
No,
phone
we had
until Nick.
I had a beeper.
You had a beeper and all that. Anyway, just to let you know, I grew up super Catholic, kind of lost my faith a little bit in college. Not terribly, but just kind of stopped going to mass and stuff. It was just terrible. Anyway, so that was the beginning of our marriage. But then we moved back and started having our kids and started hanging around my brothers and sisters who were Catholic and just our families. And we had that great influence that we were talking about. And things got so much better.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, we had more structure in our lives and more celebrations, more fun. It definitely helps to have the family involved and to see our parents more frequently through the process, all that.
Yeah, because our parents were alive then.
Yeah.
Both parents. And both our parents, we didn't have to experience any divorce or anything. Our parents stayed married and our fathers passed away pretty quickly. And then my mom in 21, and your amazing mom is still living and texts us all the time. And she's crazy.
She just
and
won
she's
the
funny.
basketball pool.
Yeah, she's going to win the basketball pool. Grandma. I love it. Love it. So we did have a couple low points in our marriage where I guess you could say low points, but there was a time when you got sick and you had to be on chemo and some medication and bed rest for a while. And our kids were little. They were like 7, 6, 3, I believe. And we got through that year. And that year actually really plunged us into the faith. And I think it plunged maybe our extended family into the faith too. I mean, it was a real catalyst for surrendering to God and placing our hearts in Jesus that year.
Well, it was you and the kids and everybody else. And I was kind of laid up and out of it. And actually, when I came out of it, I didn't embrace the faith at all.
No, you were I would say you were kind of mad, maybe kind of sad, kind of wondering what happened, why you type of thing. And just kind of took it internally because your personality is more quiet and introverted. And I think you can be hurt kind of easily. You know, you're more of a soft soul. I'm like hard soul. I'm just like out there.
Well, I think too,
more extroverted.
I see my role as protector, provider, all those things. And it definitely showed that I was not invulnerable, that, I have this weakness. I can be.
I think you got scared.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. There's an anxiety that came with it that kind of stuck around.
Even though you're really a miracle that you lived and that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
But you came around because your kids were praying for you. We were praying for you. You really hung in there. You fought for your faith. And I actually think maybe that's why our kids turned out how beautifully as they did. Let's talk about our kids because we have 3 adult children and that put us all through the paces. And I think they were able to really watch you fight for your faith and watch this whole transformation happen when you got well. And they're all practicing and they're in the faith and they're amazing. They're amazing kids, aren't they?
Yeah. And I think that, there's nothing like praying when you have something to pray for.
That's so true.
So they saw me, and I was pretty healthy beforehand and active and all that. And they saw me kind of laid up for an entire year. So I'm sure that, you started going much more frequently to church, mass, taking them and explaining to them the importance of it. And I do think that cemented them in faith. And so that's a huge positive that they continue to have in their families.
Yeah. They go to mass, they're successful. They're able to hopefully follow in our footsteps in our marriage. And you had said earlier that one of the things that we've experienced too is, we've always really tried to be role models for our kids, trying not to fight in front of them, trying to be good to each other, trying to laugh a lot. We played a lot of games. Even now we play games.
Yeah.
We love games. We really do. We love cards. We love
fishbowl.
We do the craziest, nuttiest games. And we've had such a good time with that. And I think our kids, hopefully they're carrying that on.
Well, and they don't live right next to us right now. We'd love to be closer to them in retirement and be able to be active in helping raise the grandchildren. But I think if you're if you're fun with them and you have that enjoyment and you play games, then when they have their free time, they're going to choose to spend it with you more frequently.
That's right.
And we want to be the destination that they come to instead of the old people that are a burden to them.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. You know what that just even leads into is just also being physically fit. I mean, I know this is kind of jumping the gun a little bit on delay and pray and how we deal with spiritual fasting here in this house, but you and I have been working out like crazy maybe the last year and a half. I mean, we've always been fit. You've always ridden a bike. I've always had a treadmill and elliptical. You know, we've always been fit. But man, the last year, in order for us to try to take these Fridays and delay sugar, flour, and alcohol, we took the Friday nights and started going to the gym because that was the hardest night for us. And what's happened is, I mean, we're doing sled work, we're doing weights, we're doing cardio, and we're really loving it. And it's a staple in our lives, these Wednesday and Friday nights. And it's not only helping us physically, but spiritually. Don't you think?
Yeah. I've always been athletic and active, and I kind of downplayed a little bit of the sugar, flour, alcohol stuff that you were talking about because I tended not to be heavy, but I also tend not to be lean. And what I did not realize was the effect of inflammation. And people think of inflammation as being in your joints, but it's not, it's everywhere. And so in my build, I believe I was carrying an extra 10, 15 pounds of just water and inflammation. And by going on the sugar, flour, alcohol hiatus, I saw weight fall off tremendously. And the working out allows me to keep muscle mass because, getting close to 60, you can start to lose that pretty quick. But I'm just amazed at the...
Yeah, you're real close to 60, by the way, honey.
Yeah, I know. Let me know how it is.
I will.
Okay. But the amount of water that falls off or other weight that just comes off with it, it allows me to be more flexible. I can ride the bike farther. I have better endurance.
You're happier, by the way.
I don't have achiness in my knee like I had continuously when I was carrying an extra 15, 20 pounds. So there are just innumerable benefits that are coming around from giving up the sugar, flour, and alcohol. And
that's just when you say giving up, it's you're delaying. I know you don't have to, I mean, it's delay and pray, but we have it every once in a while. Like, I just want everybody to know that like during Lent, Mike and I have embarked on this delay of sugar, flour, and alcohol throughout the entire Lent. We went on a small vacation for our anniversary and we had a little bit of alcohol, not a lot of sugar and flour, but mostly just a few drinks at the pool type of thing. But way not as much as we would have normally done.
No.
And then we came back, got right back on it and did great. And we've kept the alcohol and the sugar at bay for sure. But the other night, we were so hungry. We're working out on a Wednesday night and not feeling well. We felt like we didn't have energy. Maybe we didn't eat enough. We were doing our sled work. I mean, you pretty much push and pull a sled with 90 pounds, over 100 pounds. And so you said, I'm getting a pizza. And it was just a cheese pizza with mushrooms. And I was like, that's fine. And I was thinking maybe we should have had potatoes or something, but we didn't have time. And you were really not feeling good. So we go home. It's like 7:30.
Yeah.
I have a couple pieces. We have this pizza. And lo and behold, Mike, it didn't satisfy us, did it? It just didn't do the trick. And what we realized was, and what I keep telling all my clients all the time is, this is the great experiment. It's not a fail. It's that what a win that we've been able to keep sugar, flour, and alcohol for so many days during this Lent. Right. We have 2 weeks left. We're actually recording this on Passion Sunday and 2 weeks left of Lent. And we got right back on it the next day. But tell me a little bit about how it didn't satisfy you and what you learned from that, because you told me.
Yeah, I think that it definitely tasted good. I'll give that. But it wasn't necessarily what I was looking for to reboost my energy and kind of get me back.
It wasn't worth breaking the fast either. No. Like, because we're fasting for others. We're fasting for our kids. We're fasting for the business. We're fasting for discernment of the path that we're going to follow.
Yeah. And I think there was that idea that this is more about discipline and control than it is about necessarily what you're hungry for, or what you choose to eat or not. I felt good the part that I felt good about was that even though we had the pizza, the next day we started and we were 100% back into the delaying sugar, flour, and alcohol. And that we have been exercising that discipline muscle so much that it's become the natural reflex for us now. And so it doesn't feel like we're sacrificing so much. It's just part of how we're doing things. And I think that extends into other parts of our life now, where we're able to have the discipline to do what we need to and do it in a way that's faithful. So if something upsets us, we don't get nearly as angry as we used to. We don't overreact the way we used to. So we're just more settled in all of our actions. And so again, the pizza tasted good, but it wasn't the thing that satisfied. I think the thing that satisfied me was the fact that we did the nuke chapey, right? We got right back on it the next morning and started up.
And then the other thing that we talked about was, and actually you mentioned this, is preparation. I'm always talking about preparation to my clients, and that part of Lent, like you said, is prep. It really is. So I went out the next day and I got potatoes, baked potatoes, because I knew a baked potato would help you, and because we are really working out on Wednesdays and Fridays. So I don't need it because I'm doing the sardine challenge, and it is giving me the nutrition, but I don't work as hard as you do. And you may need some more calories and some more sustenance than I do. So on Friday, before we worked out, I sent you with 3 hard-boiled eggs to work, with a baked potato with butter, and a good amount of butter, and then a salad with tuna, because you don't really care for the sardines, which is fine. I mean, I've already tried that. And it's a very wonderful food for many reasons, but this is already for you a real sacrifice in food. So you ended up having that, no meat and no sugar, no flour. And basically you were able to now work out really well.
Yeah.
And we learned.
Yeah. I mean,
there you go.
There's the idea of sacrifice and suffering, and there's the aspect of you don't want to do it to the point that you incapacitate yourself.
Right.
It's not meant for that. But a lot of the sacrifice and the suffering is the idea that you're taking the time to plan for the alternative. And that's what I'd like, is that we're saying, okay, this is the alternative, and we can still do this and be healthful and mindful of what's going on.
That's right. That's right. Because really, in the end, marriage is about getting each other to heaven. You help me, I help you, and we are really trying to please God by taking Lent more seriously. Right. Also, trying to get to Stations of the Cross, trying to get to an extra daily mass during the week. I think you've become a better Catholic father. You're starting to lead. You're starting to ask me, Beth, can we say the rosary this morning before you go to work? And we might not get a whole rosary in, maybe just a few decades. And then you finish it on the way to work, which is beautiful. I think it's going in the right direction. And scripture on Sunday nights. And you're very willing as to this prayer life. And you didn't necessarily have that before.
No.
You seem too busy, you said, to pray.
Yeah. I think for me personally, there was the idea that I had to get over the fact that I'm the sole provider, sole protector. I am everything for this family. And as the head of the household, I don't know if I was raised that way or if that's more my natural inclination, but I've always had that. And it does create a tremendous burden and an anxiety, because you can't do everything. You can't be all things all the time. And so I think that what this has helped me with is inviting Jesus into my struggles, into my anxieties, into what's going on in our lives, helping me to learn how to pray and to ask for things. I mean, that's a hard part to even start with, is, you have to be vulnerable enough to ask for things. And if you're the person controlling your universe, you don't need to ask for things. And that's a sign of weakness. And so for me, in a lot of ways, praying was that it didn't make sense. I didn't understand it. And some of the initial praying was, Lord, help me to understand how to pray, how to even get my mind away from work for 15 minutes so that I can relax enough to let let that mindset in to listen.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And to let God bear that burden.
Right.
That's helped me so much. The surrender novena that we pray.
Right.
Take care of everything, Jesus. Just take care of everything. Easy to say it, harder to do it. But when you actually invite Jesus under that cross, he will carry he will do the heavy lifting. And I think it's beautiful to see you come around to that.
Yeah.
And I love
I
that.
definitely have more peace.
And listen, being married to me, you need Jesus, Mike.
Yeah. I've asked him to start working out too, because he's going to help with her stuff.
That's right. That's right. Oh my goodness. So let's just talk a minute more about our grandchildren. I've never seen you light up. I mean, we love our children. And when our children were born, it was amazing. But oh, Mike, the grandchildren. I mean, is this not fabulous?
Yeah,
Do we not just want to drop everything?
It's a new level of love. It really is. And I mean, it's two things. You see the grandkids and you love them to death. And you're just so proud of your kids for carrying forward that example. We see them going to church, dragging their newborns who don't know any different, getting them in church and struggling through with the kid crying and pooping or whatever else during mass, and they figure it out and they go the next week. And it's really what you hope for. And I'm just so happy to be a part of their lives in whatever way we can, because it is just, I think it's as much pride as anything else, but you just love them so much, and to be around them is a joy.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we raised them. We were pretty strong parents. I mean, I stayed home until the kids were all in school, and we had a lot of fun. And then I went back to get my teaching degree because I didn't want to travel. We couldn't, you were traveling a little bit as an engineer, and we both couldn't do that. So went back, got my teaching degree, and then I was kind of teaching them in all their schools. And it was pretty fun.
Yeah, you followed them around, and you were the helicopter mom a little bit.
But I was. Oh my goodness,
kept them straight. I mean, that was if there's anything that has been great about their development, it's the fact that you were very involved, and you were a strong disciplinarian in terms of the morals and the rights and the wrongs, and being very explicit about
the rules,
the rules and the risks that are out there and all of that. And it's kept them on the straight and narrowed and allowed them to get through without any true.
Yeah. So true. Well, as a high school teacher, I could see what was going on. Yeah. And kids came to me with their problems, and I knew exactly what was going on. And so I worked very, very hard, and you supported me on keeping our kids out of that milieu, because this is not a good place to be. So we were very strict with them, especially middle school and high school, and they turned out beautifully.
I do think, you taught in the Catholic schools, and that.
No, they went to Catholic school.
They all went through Catholic schools. You taught through the Catholic schools. And I believe that education is so much better than the public schools, but it's got its pitfalls just like everything else if you don't watch. And
it does. Yeah, it's so true. Well, we have enjoyed this whole podcast. We do laugh a lot. And this all started with that fall in the airport. And that was pretty funny, wasn't it, Mike? That was.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. And then just
You're never at a loss for entertaining me.
No, I'm not. I'm crazy. And then on the plane, we laughed until we cried because we were talking about the fall in Dallas. I mean, where JFK got assassinated.
Man down.
I know.
Man down.
I mean, where he got assassinated, there's big X's on the streets. And I literally went down right at the X, skinned my knee. I ripped my pants, and I was so mad. See, I didn't have Catholic coaching then. I didn't have the model. And I was angry. I was so mad. And I stomped back to the hotel, mad at myself mainly. And
all of us laughing in the background.
Yes. Catholic coaching has just done a lot for me. And it's done a lot for you. You've actually let me coach you a few times. Not only for me to learn in the early days, but every once in a while, I'll even come to you and say, I need to be coached on this. And you'll just take me through the model. I mean, it's a pretty fantastic thing that our thoughts create our results. We have to be very careful that we're not always believing what's going through our mind, because some of that stuff is lethal.
It is. And it's helped me. But as I listen to your more recent podcasts, and you're talking a lot to some of your clients and people you've been working with for a couple of years now, and the transformative effects it's having on their lives. I mean, when we started, there were some hesitancies about you quitting a really nice, well-paying job and taking on this company that you're building and this idea that you're trying to put forth, writing books, creating websites and
Content.
and coaching people and transforming lives and this mission to bring 1 million people back to the Catholic faith, and you're well on your way. But these people are just such a testimony to how you've transformed their lives and how you've created such positives in their world. I'm so proud of what you've done. And I see you just continuing to grow and making this as big as what you've envisioned.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Well, you've supported me not only emotionally, but financially. You go to work every morning, usually in the dark.
Yep.
Come home in the dark. We live in Michigan. And you work really hard. And I know you're looking forward to retirement. I have a long way to go with this business, but it's a different thing. It's what I'm doing right now is a passion. This is very different than slogging into work every day. But you're very helpful, and I appreciate that. And sometimes you're my best client. You're my guinea pig, and you let me coach you. And we love each other. And we're always going to be having ups and downs. We've had ups and downs recently. And it's so interesting because we literally just sit down and we figure it out. And and if we get mad at each other, we get right to confession. That is one thing. Yeah. We just go. And I'll stand in St. Pius. It has confessionals on like opposite sides of the transept. And you stand on one side and I'll stand on the other. And we never let it fester anymore. Yeah. We know, we just... because our job is to get each other to heaven. Our job is to put the other one first. And I appreciate you fasting for me. And I appreciate you getting into prayer this year. Yep. And I think it's easier on you. I think it's easier on you. And I think it helps you be the Catholic father that you've always wanted to be, and husband as well. So I want to end this, Mike, by you praying over me, the prayer. It's the deliverance prayer that we pray over each other. It's from the Black Deliverance Prayer Book called Deliverance Prayers by Father Chad Ripperger. And Mike is going to pray over me and our children like we do in the evenings. And hopefully you will do the same.
Into thy hands, Mary, I commend the bodies and souls of Beth and my children. I ask thee to provide for them and to protect them. I ask thee to protect them from the evil one. I ask thee, enlighten their minds, strengthen their wills, and refrain their appetites by grace. I also ask of thee all the things I ask of their guardian angels. Saint Michael, call down from heaven the legions of angels to protect them. I ask all the things I ask of their guardian angels. Guardian angels of Beth and my children, under your intellectual and volitional protection, I place their bodies. I ask you to illuminate their minds and refrain their appetites. I ask you to strengthen their cognitive powers, their memories, and their imaginations. Help them to remember the things they should and not remember the things they should not. Help them to associate the things they should and not associate the things they should not. Give them good, clear images in their imagination. I ask you to drive away all the demons that might affect them while they sleep or throughout the course of the day. Help them to sleep, and if you should deem it prudent, direct their dreams. Help them to arise refreshed. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mike. I tell you, every couple out there should grab that book and just start praying that, even if just 3 times a week, Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So thanks, Mike. I love you so much. I'm looking forward to another 35 years. Maybe the next 4 will be a little easier than the last 4 with this business, because I think we've turned the corner on a few things here with the business. So,
well, I'm your biggest fan. I think you have great things ahead of you with this business, and I look forward to as many years as God gives us.
I love you so much. Well, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I love sharing this information with you. If you did, please subscribe and even leave a 5-star review if you wouldn't mind, so others will hear the great message of spiritual fasting, get healthy, lose weight, and get back to the sacraments this year. Have a great week, my friends. Keep your Lenten promises. We're almost there, and I will talk to you next week. May God bless you and keep you always. If you are interested in learning more about spiritual fasting and permanent weight loss, then come join my course, Delay and Pray, a 12-week guided course for weight loss through spiritual fasting. You won't go through it alone either. I will be there to coach you every step of the way. This is a group coaching program where you are part of an amazing community of like-minded Catholics who have the same goal as you, to bring about miracles while losing that weight permanently through spiritual fasting. Your purchase includes an online course detailing what spiritual fasting is, how to do it, and all the tools you need to get you the results results you're longing for. Head over to my website right now at thecatholicfastingcoach.com and get the details on how to join. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and LinkedIn to always get the latest daily information to help you keep fasting, my friends. Can't wait to see you in there. May God bless you and keep you always.